Thank you all for tuning back in. I wanted to first touch base with you all with regards to the data center and just kind of going back to that again. Just so you all know, and I didn't mention it on my last video about this, but if you get one data center through or built in a state, more will follow, which means they could possibly tear this state apart and make it so unhealthy to live in, and so unaffordable. But I'm tuning you all. I want to tune in today and focus on this guy's video. I thought he broke down Fort Meade and expressed it really well, and I wish you all hang in there so we can hear his video. It's just an 11-minute video. If you have 11 minutes, please spare the time because what he says is extremely important. I mean, look at this here. We have, this is just the beginning of what could possibly come in the future with Fort Meade and as well as other places in Florida and within Polk County. That's just one. That's just the beginning as our government sits back and watch. And it seems that anybody who's the governor, such right now as DeSantis, doesn't seem like they have much say in what goes on or trying to stop these data centers. But this is what the guy's video is going to get into. He's up against, he can't even get a bill through because he's up against his own legislators, his own cabinet members. They want it. I guess they're looking at money, and he's trying to help us because he knows what data centers can bring. Also, with the fact of trees, we have a lot of trees that could be torn down and never see these trees. Some of these trees you probably won't see again for a while. Some of these trees been up for 100 to 200 years. And we're still looking at these trees getting cut down, and there's no protection for the trees. Like I said, not only are we going to be displaced and animals and insects, but also the trees. I mean, if you think about it, trees do a lot more than just clean the air for us. You know, they also can, pose as sound barriers, because there are so many of them. When they surround your community or your home, and it separates you from a main road or highway, or even if you live near railroad tracks, it can reduce a lot of that sound and noise that comes off the highways and roadways. And even it can reduce some of the train noise as well. Not all of it, of course, but some of it. It can also help cut down on a lot of dust. It's like you have dream catchers. Well, you have dust catchers. Trees are like dust catchers. They actually help with, preventing so much dust from getting on your homes or your car or even on your porch or backyard patio. And you don't have, when you're sitting outside trying to enjoy some of that air or fresh air, the trees catch a lot of that dust so you can breathe and won't have to be breathing up that dust. See, this is what trees do for us, the vegetation. Even if the grass looks dead, the trees are still living. So this is what we got. And they say, oh, we'll just plant some more. You're not going to be able to plant more where you're building. So it's still kind of, in a way, defeats its purpose because you plant more trees. Well, those trees are far more older than any of us. So we won't even be around to see them trees full grown. And the next thing you know, our great-great-grandkids will be somewhere, or great-great-great-grandkids will be somewhere, fussing about not bothering the trees. Don't cut the trees down, So this is what this video is about. It's because of all the building. We have to put a brake on these building permits. I mean, look at this. Like I said, it's just only the beginning of what our future and Fort Meade's future is about ready to face. And these, I'm going to tell you, these folks are ready to break ground now. And they said they want to do it as soon as possible. But I think it has something to do with the water company holding off or something, or waiting on a water company or something. I'll have to find out more about that. But this is an example. And other states that have gone through it too. And see, with that being on the rise, so can gentrification. Gentrification can be on the rise as well. And that in itself is not illegal. But the tactics used to accelerate it may violate local laws. While there are no federal laws explicitly prohibiting gentrification, some cities and states have implemented policies to mitigate its effects, such as rent control and inclusionary zoning. Aggressive tactics used by developers, landlords, or mortgage companies, or sometimes counties, to displace long-time residents, such as evictions, foreclosures, or harassment, could possibly violate housing laws. Understanding local laws, ownership, and tenant rights are crucial whenever you think you may be possibly facing some sort of gentrification. Gentrification is no joke. It's not fun. And I'm going to tell you, we got to watch for it. Gentrification is someone's nightmare, is what it is. It's like a forever nightmare. Because while you're fighting to keep your home, your land, and keep a roof over your family's head, you got a Goliath giant standing over you, forcing you out of your home and off of your land. And when I say a Goliath giant, I'm talking about your government or these developers, something along those lines. Because they want you out so they can do something new. And it's unfortunate for a lot of people. And it would be unfortunate for us if we don't come together and vote together. Like the government comes together when they want something done, we need to come together when we want something done. As voters, they come together as a government. We need to come together as voters. We are their bosses. They are our puppets. We are not their puppets. Let's not forget that. Let's vote them out. Get me in there so we can get others like myself in there. We can get you in there. Maybe the next round, and we can help each other turn that back over, because they gradually got us out. And that's why they're able to do what they're doing, because they gradually got all the good guys out. Well, let's gradually put them good guys back in. And we start with me. Being a voice for us. The eyes and ears for us. Voting for me is voting for yourselves. Why not vote for yourself? This is why I say, don't vote by parties, because it doesn't matter. I mean, look, I've drank from that same bad glass of Kool-Aid, and I would vote by party. And I'm going to tell you, it didn't get our country anywhere, and it's not getting our state anywhere. It's not getting our county anywhere. We're not getting anywhere. We're still just going back and forth. I mean, the U.S. is going up and down like a seesaw because we're all divided. We're not working as the United States. We are a divided country because we all keep looking at parties. And parties have gotten us nowhere. We're all still financially struggling. Inflation is getting so big, it's about to burst. And then you have people, retailers and stores who are actually, just doubling up on the prices of things, and they're price gouging. And we can barely afford to feed our families, let alone ourselves. So let's just come to a meeting of the minds. Let's come to the middle. Let's go back to where we were when life was better. Gas was cheaper. We could get a whole week's worth of meal, worth of food. I'm sorry, a whole week's worth of food with at least about maybe, depending on what you get, you can get a week's worth of food for about at least 170 to 200. But now you get a week's worth of food, you're going to be looking at 250 easy, or 250 to $300 just for a week's worth of food, like meals. Like if you want 7 meals, a dinner, even just 7 meals. But a week's worth of food, that's 3 meals. That's breakfast, lunch, and dinner that you're trying to buy at a grocery store. Whereas that used to cost you about anywhere between 150 to 200 if you wanted to do big heavy shopping like that. Whereas now that's going to cost you about $300 plus some, possibly, depending on where you go. But you're not coming up under. You're not going to come up under 150. Trust me, not today. And it's unfortunate. And that's why I said we need to vote together and come together. And this is that guy I was telling you about that has, he really breaks it down really well. I'm going to try and block out a lot of the commercials. I might catch a little bit of them, but the commercials are for him, not for me. So I want you all, if you have 11 minutes, please take a moment and listen to this guy break it down. Or you can even go to his channel, and he's always discussing about what's going on with Florida. But I love the way he breaks down the data centers. Like he said, no one's talking about it, but actually people are talking about the data center. It's just not a whole lot of talk. It should be in the news a little bit more heavier than it is, because it is something very serious and it can be detrimental to our communities and to our way of life and living.
Can DeSantis stop data centers from destroying Florida before it's too late? Because right now, big tech is moving in, gobbling up our resources, and you're the one paying the price. This is already going down in other states, and it's ugly. And Florida just became their next victim. In this video, I'll show you why your bills are going to skyrocket the second a data center moves in, the politician who's blocking DeSantis from protecting Florida, and what just went down in a small Florida town that proves they're coming to your city next. Let's jump in. A data center is a giant building packed wall to wall with computers that run artificial intelligence, or AI, around the clock. Every time you use ChatGPT, ask Alexa a question, or stream Netflix, there's a data center somewhere making that happen. The world runs on these things now, and that demand is only going up. So companies are scrambling to build more of them. And these aren't your average data centers either. They're called hyperscale, meaning they're so massive they can power an entire city's worth of computers under one roof. And they want to do it in Florida. Here's the thing most people don't know. These buildings use a ridiculous amount of power. We're talking enough electricity to power an entire city. And to get that much power to one building, the local electric company has to upgrade everything. New power lines, new transformers, new substations. We're talking billions of dollars worth of infrastructure just to keep one data center running. And when the power company spends tens of billions of dollars on upgrades, they don't eat that cost. They split it between every single customer on the grid. You, me, your neighbors, your parents. Everybody's bill goes up to pay for upgrades that a billion-dollar tech company needed. Not their bill, yours and mine. And here's the thing, your electric bill's already out of control. Florida Power and Light just got approved for the largest utility rate hike in American history. $7 billion over 4 years. Your electric bill has already gone up 45% since 2021. 45%. And not a single hyperscale data center is turned on in Florida yet. You want to see what happens when you let these things run wild? Look at Virginia. They got more data centers than anywhere else in the country, and in one single year, electric costs jumped. Not 8%, not 83%, 833%. And the homeowners had no idea why. That's what Florida's in for if nobody stops it. DeSantis is the only one sounding the alarm on this. He's saying you shouldn't have to pay one single dime more on your utility bill because some tech billionaire wants to run a chatbot. These are the richest companies that have ever existed on the planet. They can pay their own electric bill, but if nobody stops them, it's coming out of your pocket. And the electric bill isn't even the worst part of living next door to one of these things. Here's a data center in Dowagiac, Michigan. Listen to this. That runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Imagine that outside your bedroom window.
It was like a wake-up call. All of a sudden we hear this noise. Once it started, we were like, oh my gosh, we have to listen to this for how long? Well, 4 years later, and it's still there.
But it's not just the people living next door that got the problem. Studies show the noise from these facilities can reach 2.5 miles out. That low-frequency rumble, the kind you feel more than you hear, can travel up to 5 miles. 5 miles. So if you think you're safe because you don't live right next door to one, think again. And DeSantis' AI Bill of Rights would set the first ever statewide noise regulations specifically for data centers in Florida. Right now, there are 0 rules on how much noise these things can make in your neighborhood. And if that's not bad enough, wait till you hear what they do to the water. Because honestly, this one's worse. A regular-sized data center, not even a big one, uses up to 110 million gallons of water a year just to keep the computers cool. That's the same amount of water that 1,000 households use in a year. That's one building sucking up all that water. Not a neighborhood, one building. Now, the ones they want to build in Florida, they're the hyperscale kind, way bigger. Those things can use up to 5 million gallons of water per day. That's the same as the city of 50,000 people drinking water every single day. And here's the crazy part. Most of that water just evaporates. It doesn't come back. It's just gone. And we're doing this in Florida during a drought. Tampa literally just put water restrictions in place. The whole Southeast is in drought conditions right now, and somebody's proposing to plant one of these things in Florida that would drink 50,000 gallons a day out of your water supply. That's just for one. You want to see the future? Check out North Carolina. The whole state's in a drought. Raleigh just hit stage 1 water restrictions, and they got data centers lined up wanting to pull 500,000 gallons a day out of rivers that are already running low. One county got so fed up that they banned new data centers for a year just to pump the brakes. In Colorado, Denver Water declared its first drought emergency since 2013. And the same week that happened, the only bill that would have required data centers to report how much water they're using just died in committee. Of course it did. And here's something nobody's talking about. The water that does come back from these things isn't always clean. Here's a nightmare a couple in Mansfield, Georgia are going through.
This is our cold water pressure in the kitchen.
If you live in Orlando,
This is where I fill up water for storage. Those are the things we have to fill up to flush the toilets.
So you can see the sediment from the data center. Wow, and that's just from the water coming out of your faucet.
Yeah. And this is what's in all the pipes.
Hot water can get dumped back into local rivers and kill fish. Treatment chemicals can leak into watersheds. And there's a bacteria called Legionella, that's the one that causes Legionnaire's disease, that can grow in the cooling towers and get released into the air around the facility. This is documented, and it's happening. Florida's water is everything. Tourism, fishing, farming, real estate. It all runs on clean, available water. You mess with that, and you're not just raising somebody's bill. You're dismantling what makes this state worth living in. And if you're thinking, Florida would never let this happen, let me show you what just went down in Fort Meade, because you got no say in what's coming next. Hey, if you're new here, this is what I do. I break down what's really happening in Florida. No fluff, no filters. And if you've been watching for a while, join the channel. Become a Florida Patriot. Help me get the message out. Click join, and I'll see you on the inside. Fort Meade's in Polk County, and it's a small little Florida town with about 5,300 people. Back in June 2025, the Fort Meade City Commission quietly approved zoning changes to allow a data center on 1,300 acres just outside of town, and most residents didn't even know it happened. The company, called Stonebridge, is a real estate developer out of Maryland, and the plans to build a data center start at 1.9 million square feet that could eventually grow to 4.4 million square feet. That's bigger than 76 football fields in a town of 5,300 people. By early 2026, word got out and people were fired up. About 500 residents signed a petition against it. They packed every single meeting. Parents, farmers, retirees, real estate agents, all showing up and saying they couldn't handle this. Their water couldn't handle this. And they never voted for any of it. One woman stood up and told the commissioners, "You're elected to protect us, our children, and our elderly. Don't sell us out or you'll kill this town." And after 4 hours of people begging them not to, every single commissioner voted yes. It was unanimous. The vice mayor called it a leap of faith. She actually said there are questions that will go unanswered that she doesn't even have. She doesn't have the answers, and she voted yes anyway on the town's water supply, on their community. And here's the crazy part. Nobody knows who's moving in. Stonebridge is the developer, but they don't disclose who the actual tenant is. The residents asked, The city couldn't tell them because Stonebridge won't say and the city can't make them. There's no law that forces it. DeSantis' Department of Commerce called the whole plan out for being speculative because nobody knows who's even moving in. And they still voted yes. Now there's still a speed bump. The Southwest Florida Water Management District, whose board DeSantis appoints, just told Fort Meade their existing water permit can't cover this data center. Stonebridge needs a whole new permit approved by the full board at a public meeting. And as of right now, they haven't even applied for one. So the project isn't dead, but it's not happening tomorrow either. And DeSantis' people are watching it closely. Oh, and by the way, there's more being planned in Citrus County, Palm Beach County, and Nassau County, just outside Jacksonville. Same playbook, different counties, secret tenants. This thing's spreading. But honestly, that's not even the wildest part of the story. That's coming next. Trump and DeSantis are actually on the same page on this point. In March, Trump got Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, OpenAI, Oracle, and Elon's XAI to all sign something called the Ratepayer Protection Pledge. Every major tech company in America signed a piece of paper promising that they would cover their own power costs and not pass them on to customers. Me and you. Problem solved, right? Wrong. Experts came out immediately and said that pledge is not enforceable at the federal level because electricity isn't regulated by the federal government. It's regulated state by state, meaning the only people who can actually make that pledge stick for Florida residents are Florida legislators. Trump can get every tech company to sign a piece of paper, but if Florida doesn't pass a law that enforces it, that paper means nothing for your electric bill. And that's exactly what DeSantis tried to do. He proposes the Citizens Bill of Rights for Artificial Intelligence. It makes data centers pay for their own power. No taxpayer subsidies for big tech. Local governments get the right to say no. Water resources get protected, and everything has to be public. No secret deals, no NDAs, no mystery tenants. The Florida Senate passed it unanimously. So this time, problem solved, right? Wrong. It went to the Florida House, and Speaker Daniel Perez, a Miami Republican, killed it. He said AI regulation is a federal issue, not a state issue. But remember what the experts already told us? The federal pledge isn't enforceable at the federal level. So if the feds can't enforce it, and the state won't pass a law to enforce it, who exactly is protecting Florida residents? Nobody. And right around the same time Perez is killing the bill, the lobbyists for these giant tech companies are crawling all over Tallahassee, throwing money around, and they got what they paid for. The most important part of the whole bill got stripped out, the part that would have required every single data center deal to be made public. No more secret agreements between cities and tech companies. No more situations like Fort Meade where a city commission votes yes and nobody knows who's moving in. That protection's gone. And while all this is going on in Florida, Elon Musk just announced he doesn't even want data centers being built in the United States. And you're not going to believe where he wants to put them. Elon just merged SpaceX and his AI company, XAI, and filed with the federal government to launch 1 million satellites into orbit to act as data centers. Solar powered, no land needed, no electric grid. And space is already freezing, so no water cooling needed. So that means nobody's water gets touched and nobody's bill goes up. Then he took it even further. His long-term plan is to build an entire city on the moon that manufactures AI satellites and uses a giant electromagnetic catapult to shoot them into deep space, where they become even bigger data centers. The moon's the factory and space is where the data centers live. Pretty wild, right? And look, I'm not against data centers. America has to win the AI race, and it's not optional. Think about what runs on AI today. Our military, our weapon systems, drug discovery, cancer research, the power grid, cybersecurity, air traffic control. Every major system that keeps this country running has AI in it. If China wins the AI race, it's not just an economic problem, it's a you and me problem. You don't want communist-built AI running American weapon systems, American hospitals, or American elections. And China's already trying. Their open-source AI models are already showing up inside American companies and American applications right now. So yeah, build data centers. America needs them. Win the race. But you need to build them without draining Florida's water supply. You need to build them without blowing up Florida families' electric bills. You need to build them without secret deals where towns of 5,000 people don't even know who's moving in. And if you can't do that, stay out of Florida. DeSantis wants to protect Floridians, and the Florida House said no. So DeSantis just called a special session to get his AI Bill of Rights back in front of Florida legislators. And we're going to find out if they're going to vote to protect Florida or protect the lobbyists. And you can actually do something about it. Call your Florida state rep and tell them to vote yes on DeSantis' AI Bill of Rights and stop selling us out to big tech. I'll drop a link below the video to find your state rep. And listen, you're not going to want to miss what's coming next. So hit subscribe now.
So I want to apologize, y'all. That was actually about 12 to 13 minute video, but I hope you got a lot out of it. But this is why we all need to come together and vote. We have to vote together. Like he said, they're coming together, and I said the same thing. The government and some of the government officials and the developers are all coming together. to get through certain bills and laws passed that they need. Why can't we? Why allow them to keep us divided? The more we allow them to keep us divided, the less effective our votes are, or the things that we need. Let's vote together. Even with this property tax thing, I believe we need 60%. So we can start affording to buy groceries again and get gas and, just afford to live again. A little bit anyway. At least that takes a little bit of something away. But we have to remember, we have to stay together. And we have to vote me in, which is a vote for yourself. Vote yourselves in by voting me in. And you have to write my name in there. So you don't forget that. You have to do my name. But just remember, it's more of us, community and voters, than there are of them. The local government, county officials, and whoever else. So there's no need for us to be acting or feeling afraid. We don't have to be afraid or scared to do something about bringing life back to us. We need to fight for our lives, and as far as, with these politics going through. And I know sometimes people promise they're going to do things, and then when they get up there, they don't do what they say. We got to find out, why is that? What's going on behind those closed doors, that when those people genuinely sound like they really want to do something, what happens when they get up there? We need to find that out. We need to know. There's so many things we need to know so we can start correcting these things and resolving these matters and issues. But we can't be afraid to take back our power, to take back our way of life. We can't keep allowing people to come in and just run over us and deceive us. We can't continue that way. And with that, I didn't want, this video is going longer than I wanted it to. So with that being said, I want to thank you all. And I want you all to have a fantastic day or evening, whichever time it is. Just make sure it's fantastic and you stay blessed. And remember, on November 3rd, 2026, order early voting date. Vote for Alicia Gresham for the Polk County Board of Commissioners. Write my name on the ballot. And let's make it make sense.